human trafficking. It's a record 288 people arrested.
They're not reporting the real numbers.
The numbers are segmented and they are fictitious.
I started my career in 1997 in the United States Border Patrol. It was one of the most violent times in recent Border Patrol history. I made my bones and my reputation on that border. I believe what is happening on the border today is intentional.
We have people in the United States of America that breed children in order to sell them.
Our own government is facilitating the absolute destruction of the American immigration system, and I can prove it point by point. I'm unafraid to speak the truth. This is just data-driven and experience-driven.
Been talking about this all week, but Janae Nelson of the NAACP Legal Defense Fund, she penned an op-ed in The Nation this week, and her op-ed talked about that we think that democracies are the way they die is dramatically through these wars and blood is shed, and it's cinematic in a sense. But really, the realistic way in which democracies die is that it's dismantled brick by brick, piece by piece. And she says that what we are seeing now with the lawlessness from this administration are really the canaries in the coal mine gasping for air. I'm paraphrasing here. But to me, that is why Kilmar Abrego Garcia's specific case, the case of the gentleman who's a makeup artist out of California who was also sent to that prison, that is why the 75% of the folks who have been sent, the men who have been sent there that don't have criminal records, that is why this is so important. Because if they could do it to them, if they could snatch students off the street without any pushback or recourse, they will do it to any of us. And to be very clear, it's going to be the people of color and vulnerable communities that are next in line.
I think that's right, and that's certainly part of why the African-American community is so strongly behind the supporting Kilmar.
Yeah, we're like, we are not for this.
Yeah, because as you just said, if they're going to whisk them away, what are they going to do with us?
President Trump says that some of Abrego Garcia's tattoos signify that he's a member of MS-13. In 2019, police alleged a confidential informant claimed that Abrego Garcia was an active MS-13 member. His wife and his attorney deny that, of course. Can you say with absolute certainty that he is not, nor has he ever been a member of the MS-13 gang? And did you ask him point blank?
Well, Dana, what Donald Trump is trying to do here is change the subject. The subject at hand is that he and his administration are defying a court order to give Abrego Garcia his due process rights. They are trying to litigate on social media what they should be doing in the courts. They need to put up or shut up in the courts. Let me tell you, and I decided to write this down so I could be absolutely accurate as to what Federal District Court Judge Zinnes said about these allegations by the Trump administration. Quote, no evidence linking Abrego Garcia to MS-13 or any terrorist activity has been presented to the court. That's where to litigate this. It's been litigated in many other places. So I'm not going to get into the details because the whole purpose of our court system is for them to adjudicate these things, not for Donald Trump to go off on social media.
Yeah, you're right. They have not, there hasn't been a court hearing for them to put forward evidence in the first place, which is your whole point. But since you were the one person to have met with him, and since this is a thing, you say on social media, it's what we hear from Donald Trump and Republicans every day, all day long, you didn't ask him?
I didn't ask him that because I know what his answer is.
Did that case, right? You've looked at the evidence. Are you convinced, as the White House says, that he's an MS-13 member?
Oh, 1,000%. Yes, indeed. 1,000%.
1,000. No doubt.
Not only that, he's no doubt, and he's a domestic violence abuser. I mean, in our community, we would screen him working with ICE, and hopefully they would decide to take removal proceedings for just that reason. And he's been through removal proceedings before, and they asked for him to be removed, and yet he was still here. So kudos on the Trump administration for removing a criminal. Horrible on Senator Van Hollen for wanting to bring him back.
Okay.
More than happy to hear the congressman say they're all going to El Salvador. I think for Republicans, this just confirms what we have believed about the Democratic Party and why it currently has a 21% approval rating in Congress. Look where the energy in the Democratic Party is. It's around retrieving illegal aliens from El Salvador. It's around fighting for these college campuses that have been rife with anti-Semitism. It's around biological males who want to play in girls' sports. This is why they are losing to Donald Trump every day, because the energy that Democrats feel comes on all these issues that are fundamentally not where the American people are.
MS-13 is one of the major gangs.
And they are satanic also.
That was my question. So
yes,
I hope you will explain it, because very little has been written in the West about this.
They're satanic, yes.
But actually, literally, can you explain?
MS-13 started in Los Angeles in the U.S. But as the organization grew, they became satanic. They started doing satanic rituals. I don't know exactly when that started, but it was well documented.
Yes.
In our arrest, we've even found altars and things like that.
Yes, I've seen them. So human sacrifice was a part. So that's almost never described in English language press as clearly as you just described it.
No. Which is weird.
Well, you sort of wonder why.
Yeah.
If there's a spiritual component that's driving it, why not just say so?
Yes.
But I guess my point is you saw it as that.
Yes, of course. There's a spiritual war and there's a physical war. If you win the spiritual war, it will reflect into the physical. I think our victory was because we won the spiritual war.
When I was on the other side of the wall, I never really liked the term fake news. Now that I am on the inside and I can see what they're reporting, I think the term fake news probably isn't strong enough. It's really not. That they start with an a priori, they've written the story, and then they just kind of shape shift facts to back into it, because many of the stories that I've been involved with are just so far off. There was a story in the New York Times the other day that talked about 50% headcount decreases at the IRS. Nobody's talking about that. These were on background, these were not named sources, and they're just trying to stir tumult during taxpayer filing season. I mean, it's crazy.
Welcome to Truth with JJ Carrell. Play that montage because I want the audience, my audience, who I know understands this, but when it gets cut up and sent all over the internet, I want America to understand that the line in the sand has been drawn even more so. It's like a trench now. An absolute trench has been driven down. You have the American, the MAGA side, not the Republican side, the MAGA side is for Americans, and we want illegal aliens out of our country, and we want death and destruction. We want men out of women's sports. We want it all. On the other side of the trench are the Democrats. The Democrats are actually, like the first clip I showed, a very weird-looking woman named Simone is speaking to a congressman. His name is Ivy. And I testified in front of him in Congress last November, and he is easily one of the dumbest people on planet Earth. Easily. As my wife said, JJ, when she called me after I got done testifying that absolutely kabuki theater, she said, did you see his hands? They were shaking uncontrollably. Because people that shake, they're liars, and they're incompetent, and they're intellectually inferior, and they're scared to death of being in a forum where intellectuals are speaking. And he heard what she said, well, they're just going to come and round up all the blacks. And Ivy's sitting there, he's a congressman. Yes, ma'am, absolutely. If they can go after MS-13 gang members that are illegally in our country and remove them, they'll just come on the street and just start sweeping all the blacks up. Do you see how evil these people are? They're equating removing an El Salvadorian illegal alien. Let's get past the MS-13. Let's just say he's a good El Salvadorian. Christian, he just beats his wife on the side, and he human traffics on the side, just on the side. He's illegal from El Salvador. Then he's deported back to El Salvador. If he was from Sudan, we would deport him to Sudan. If he was Mexican, he would go back to Mexico. Well, he didn't get his due process. Well, yes, he did. A deportation is a court order. Therefore, he had to go through the immigration process to get a formal order of deportation. Everything they're saying is a complete, absolute lie. An absolute lie. There isn't like, well, they just drove up and they grabbed Abrego. They just grabbed him and what? He's an illegal alien from El Salvador. with MS-13 tattoos on his hand. If he's in America or he is back in El Salvador and he has MS-13 tattoos and he's not MS-13, well, they're just going to cut his head off. And you heard President Bukele from El Salvador say, this is a spiritual war as much as it is a physical war, but you have to win the spiritual war. The warfare, the MS-13 is a satanic cult. Look, you're not listening to a man, me, talk about MS-13 from an academic lens of never seeing them, just seeing pictures of them. And no. At 2 o'clock in the morning, I would arrest MS-13 gang members with their crazy tattoos all over their face and body. That was me. I did it. I know what they look like, sound like, smell like. I know what it is to physically grab a hold of them. I know what it's physically to fight them. I know what it's physically to make those animals submit to me in order to put handcuffs on them. I did this for 24 years. It's not like you're listening to some dude that is, 5'1", 137 pounds, soaking wet with glasses on, telling you, I read about this and they're really bad people, but I really think that they deserve a second chance. No, you're listening to a dude that fought them. And I won every time. I didn't win sometimes. I won every effing time against these effing animals. And they're animals. And what is so ironic to it all is if there were not warriors like me to restrain the animals, those animals would literally eat their hearts, like literally kill them with machetes, hack open their chests, take their heart out and take bites of it. After they bent Senator Von Hollen over a desk and anally rape him. This is not hyperbole. This is just what they do. They would have sodomized him. They would have done everything to him physically to just rip his manhood out of him. And then they would take machetes, because that's their weapon of choice, and then they would hack him to death. Have you ever seen anybody hacked to death? Sure, we see the shot and the stab, right? That's violent and that's horrible, right? But it's pretty damn quick, right? I shoot someone in the chest or the head, bam, they physically, their life goes right out of them and it's just a corpse. Do you know what it's like to watch someone be hacked to death? Like, let me just take this limb off and then that limb and then that limb. Then maybe when they're still screaming and they go into a comatose state, maybe that's when I hack their head off their body. That is the satanic thing that President Bukele was talking about. And those are the animals that the Democrats are trying to release back into your society. And then we come full circle to the question I always ask that no one wants to answer, and it's a 3-letter word called why. Why would our government, our leaders, want savages like that into our country, a satanic cult to be released? Because the Democrats are Satanists. They are a party of evil and the devil. You don't like it. You don't like that I say it. I don't really care. Prove me wrong. Prove me that the Democrat Party is not the party of the devil. Let's go all the way back to, 2008, I think it was, when Obama ran. And the mayor, Villaraigosa, who is that's a whole nother story. The beta male mayor of LA was in front of the Democrat Party getting their plank, like their 15, 20, 30 things that they want to accomplish. And he needed a vote to put God in the plank of the Democrat Party. And they booed him and denied the plank of God 3 times. And those Satanists, those stupid devils,
Satan hoodwinked, they didn't even understand. They didn't even understand or the ability to comprehend the biblical reference of denying God 3 times. And they've been doing it forever. This is the party of slavery. This is the party of Jim Crow. This is the party that voted against civil rights. This is the party that voted in all of the abortion rights. This is the party that has brought in men into women's sports, men into women's spaces to molest, to rape our women and our children. They have brought in all the pedophilia, all the transgender, all the gender ideology, all of the death and destruction. Now, please tell me how I am wrong that they are not the party of death and they are not aligned with Satan. Go ahead. Have at it. Try to hack away everything I stated and make it false. Go ahead. Slowly, men like me are speaking this way. Slowly, not fast enough. Not fast enough. We are, America is I think the world, but America is, if we look at President Bukele, listen to what he's saying, because that is absolutely what's happening in America. We are in a war, a spiritual war and a physical war. We are. He is so spot on. That man is a genius. What he did to El Salvador, where no one would even vacation in El Salvador? What? People would go to missions, and even then it was like, what are you doing going to El Salvador? You're going to get killed. To now, Americans are going there and purchasing land and living there, vacationing in El Salvador. It's more safe there than anywhere else. Why? Because the savages have been put in cells. And we're more enlightened. We're more intelligent. We're more everything than everyone else, and yet we're not. We have regressed intellectually. We have regressed spiritually. We have regressed into a world of no common sense. One thing that I'm doing, this, and for all the partnerships and sponsors that I have, there's just like 3 or 4, I think, 3 or 4. It's because we partner because I believe in it. One way that I believe in it is my show is about being prepared, health. If you cannot fight this war, you cannot fight a spiritual war, and God knows you can't fight a natural war if you're not healthy. It's just the way it is. So I partner with Bella Grace. Why? Because it's about getting yourself healthy. I had remdesivir 2, maybe 3 times. I should have died after the first one. 50, 60% mortality rate. I have that's in my body. The COVID, I had it twice. It is destroyed my lungs. It's wrecked my body. I work out every day. But I need something to help my digestive system, my immune system, my gut. Internally, I need it. And that's why I partner with Bella Grace. And I'm about the last week of my 30-day elixir, and I swear by it. So shopbellagrace.com/truth, shopbellagrace.com/truth. Please play this less than a minute commercial. I believe in this product.
As a practitioner with a very large practice, at the very end of the day, I tended to be a little bit worn out. I wasn't covering from taking care of patients. In January, before we pre-launched the company, I was one of the very first people to get the 15-day samples. And right away, I was connected to the Bella Grace Collagen Elixir. Just an overall feeling of wellness, but also a little more energy. I recovered in my workouts, sleeping just more soundly, and then waking up the next day ready to take it on. For me, it was the power of 3, the cat's claw, the astaxanthin, and of course, the best, most studied Verisol collagen on the market today.
ShopBellaGrace.com/truth. Support our sponsors. That is how we stay on and be able to deliver truth. Next segment, man. I have it listed, and I'm just going to read it. Are the Supreme Court justices and or judges in America compromised? I don't believe that anyone can argue against me that the Supreme Court is not compromised. Absolutely compromised. Now, I'm not talking about the three extremely ugly justices on the left. Those three intellectual midgets are grotesquely incompetent. I'm talking about the competent side of our justices that consistently go against the Constitution and what they know is correct. Someone got to them. Look, Supreme Court Justice John Roberts wrote the dissent on Obamacare. Wrote the dissent, and then within hours changed it 180 degrees and agreed with Obamacare. Who got to him? Who got to him? And he has showed himself repeatedly to go against everything that he believes. He's compromised. If you can pull up, Logan, pull up this article by the Gateway Pundit, and what they did in midnight. Think of this. This wasn't like, oh my gosh, we have to get in here and we have to stop this. This is a major federal. No. This was in the middle of the night, midnight. I'm going to read the article. SCOTUS showdown. Justice Alito issues scathing rebuke of politically motivated order blocking Trump from deporting foreign terrorists under the Alien Enemies Act. This could have been done like through regular procedures, but they didn't. They did it at midnight. Why would you do it at midnight? It isn't like we're going to war and we need something verified and okay, we got to go. It's the well-being of America is at stake. No. They actually are stopping it. I'm going to read the dissent from Alito, from Judge Thomas and Alito. Quote, literally in the middle of the night, the court issued unprecedented and legally questionable relief without giving the lower courts a chance to rule, without hearing from the opposing party, within 8 hours of receiving the application with dubious factual support for its order and without providing any explanation for its order, Alito wrote. He continued, I refused to join the court's order because we had no good reason to think that under the circumstances, issuing an order at midnight was necessary or appropriate. Both the executive and the judiciary have an obligation to follow the law. They're not following the law. We are beyond a constitutional crisis. Beyond. Donald Trump has to exert his executive authority and run over the judiciary. What the judiciary is saying is, hey, you can't round up all these terrorists. Every single one of them has to be adjudicated one by one. What in God's name are you? There's 50 million illegal aliens in the country. At least half of them are terrorists. Now you want to broaden that term terrorist. So what do you call a foreign national that comes into America and rapes and pillages America? I call that a terrorist. It's not a suicide bomb. It's someone that comes and rapes children, rapes women, steals cars, causes economic destruction, just goes in there and riles up and destroys college campuses. Well, that's a terrorist. We need to get him out. The Supreme Court saying, well, you can't do that. We have to go through each one, and we got to go through exhaustive process and allow them to have appeals, meaning we're never getting rid of these people. Where was the Supreme Court? Where were the judges when over 30 million people came into America illegally in 4 years and just left to come wide open? Where was the judiciary saying, wait a minute, executive and legislative, what are you doing? Nope, they just sat there silently. But now they're fully engaged to stop the deportation. Understand, I read this when it came out, and I instinctively, my knee-jerk reaction wasn't a knee-jerk reaction. It was almost like, of course this is happening. Of course our government is so corrupt. Of course, if our government's corrupt, our judges are corrupt. It's just the truth. I want you to listen to this, Bannon, Steve Bannon. This gentleman, I love this guy. I want you to listen to him. Just if you can start it at, I think, 0:14 and end about a minute, Monday 29. Logan, can you just play this? He's spot on.
There is a case pending on the emergency docket right now before the Supreme Court of the United States. The Chief Justice and Justice Amy Coney Barrett failed to stop these activist judges about a month ago when Judge Ali
failed to stop them. They had their back.
Yeah.
Don't you think?
Yeah, they let Judge Ali send $2 billion. This foreign citizen, the first Muslim, the first Arab D.C. federal judge, sent $2 billion probably to his Hamas buddies so they can go kill Americans. And the Chief Justice and Justice Amy Coney Barrett let it happen. So I hope they've learned from their mistake after these activist judges.
Highly unlikely.
Well, we'll see.
Okay.
We'll
see. We filed on Tuesday, yesterday. When are they supposed to? It's not even on the emergency docket yet. They have yet to make a determination about that. Correct?
No, it's pending on the emergency docket, but the Supreme Court needs to rule, and they need to decide whether they're going to let these activist judges sabotage the President of the United States. And they need to decide whether they are election deniers, because President Trump is the President of the United States, and are they going to let him do his damn job, or are they going to let these radical activist judges, these judicial saboteurs, destroy the presidency?
That was 2 weeks ago, less than 2 weeks ago. And what's happened is the answer is yes. The Supreme Court and the lower court judges have usurped the executive power. They didn't do it against Biden. Biden came out and said, the court says I can't pay for your student loans, so we're going to do something else. And the court sat there. Look, I can't stand Biden. I can't stand the left. I think they're the party of Satan. However, if I am intellectually honest, I have to at least applaud them and acknowledge that they just do what they got to do. They just do what they got to do. Damn the courts, damn everything. We're going to do what we're going to do. Republicans are the Republicans are cowards. They're just cowards. Speaker Johnson has passed the SAVE Act. The SAVE Act. Please name me something else. Now that's an important deal. I applaud that. But we're almost on 100 days now. You've passed one bill, sir? What? If the Democrats had all branches aligned and ready to rock and roll, they would have been rock and rolling. And they were. Day one, the border was wide open and did not close for 4 years. Our government, our leaders, they're worthless. That's just the truth. Here's somebody that is uncovering stuff every single day, and it's Mike Benz. Let's listen to him talk about Roberts and the courts. I don't know. Do we have it up for Mike Benz? But I don't know if we do.
On X called Listen to Learn, goes by the researcher. He found an incredible clip of Norm Eisen, no less than Norm Eisen, bragging recently that while he was the U.S. ambassador to the Czech Republic, meaning the head of the State Department of the Czech Republic, the former Czechoslovakia, that a man you may have heard of by the name of Chief Justice John Roberts himself traveled to the Czech Republic to meet with Norm Eisen, not just meet with Norm Eisen, but stay at his home. Norm Eisen's 150-room mansion in the Czech Republic at the time. John Roberts traveled to the Czech Republic for a week to work on American and EU rule of law issues. And Norm Eisen said because of this, he has known John Roberts now for coming up on 15 years and considers him a close friend. And that, to me, signifies something very dark about what's happening at the SCOTUS level right now. It may help explain why SCOTUS declined to hear any of the election integrity issues in 2020 and has ruled fairly, I would say, unfavorably with Trump in terms of overturning these district court judges going after Trump here in the U.S. But
everyone is saying the quiet part out loud, finally, that the Supreme Court is compromised, starting with Chief Justice John Roberts. John Roberts came out, they discovered this week that he had a secret group of attorneys and judges that would get together. I can understand having friendships, yeah, but you have a secret group that you guys, judges have secret groups? What? And it's not like a secret group of staunch conservative constitutionalists. Even I would have a problem. Why are you having a group? Why? I mean, it's different if, hey, we're going to coffee, we're going to breakfast, we're a bunch of constitutionalists going, okay, that's great, but you're having secret meetings? Why? Now you throw John Roberts in there with a group of anti-Americans, people that actively, like Boasberg, that is claiming that he wants all the El Salvadorians brought back to America, all the TDA gang members brought back to America. Why are you having secret meetings with those people? You're compromised. Can we just be honest? Can we just, for once, just state the obvious? It's not like it's a stretch, right? It's not like I'm so far off and I'm trying to make these outrageous connections that Robertson, he's Illuminati and he does this, and I'm not mocking it. I'm just saying, I'm not stretching. I'm just saying, look what this man has done and said. He contradicts himself constantly. Why? Well, because he's compromised. What happened to the very, very Catholic Justice Barrett? What happened to her? What they've already said came out, and they don't say things in this circle unless it's true, or they're putting trial balloons out, that she was petrified for her family's safety. Well, who got to her? And if you feel that way, ma'am, then resign. Resign. But isn't it interesting that all the Supreme Court justices that are being threatened are all conservative, and the three mental patients on the left, no one says a word about them? We're in a spiritual war. The spiritual war must be won. However, if we are not ready for the physical war, then you're going to lose. And it's not going to be like, they come and audit you. No, they're going to come and take your house, take away your a way to make a living, and then they'll ultimately kill you. We've already lived through this, people. The clock is ticking. The clock is ticking. And if you think the 2026 election is going to be good, for who? Speaker Johnson? Speaker Johnson hasn't codified anything. These are all just executive orders. The Democrats take charge. There's going to be one impeachment after another. Nothing's going to get done. But that's what they want. Here's someone, the next clip I want to show you is someone that from this perspective, his constitutional understanding, he's like at the top level, right? He's like at the tip top. And that's Mark Levin. I don't have to agree with everything, which I never agree with everything of everybody 100%. But when it comes to constitutional issues, I'll defer to him because he's spot on. Listen to him, what he says about the courts.
This is separation of powers. The fact that petitioners are radical leftists, Democrats, attorneys general in blue states, union bosses, and worse, who are bringing these cases in these cities where they know these judges from Biden, Obama, and Clinton exist. This whole thing is becoming a sham. The American people are losing faith in the judiciary. We can't have a judicial oligarchy of unelected judges at the trial court level who aren't even in the Constitution, telling the president what to do on human resources, on the border, on deporting criminal illegal aliens. I mean, wait until we get to non-criminal illegal aliens. Can't tell him he can't look at payroll, he can't look at data. What is it that the president can do?
I want to know, if I had just a minute, if I was ever interviewed by Mark Levin, or I had a chance to interview him, I'd ask him, at what stage does Donald Trump ignore the courts and pull Andrew Jackson? When does he just take his constitutional authority and move forward? Obviously, the courts are morally bankrupt and compromised. So when we know that and we make that determination amongst our group, then why would we sit and wait for their judgments? Right? That's logical. If we know someone's corrupt, why would we sit and go, oh God, please, 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 I hope they rule in our favor? No. We already know what they're going to say because they're corrupt. Why do we give credence to them? When did the judicial branch of our government supersede the executive branch? And when you listen to constitutional attorneys and constitutional experts, they will tell you, if you look at if you stack them, what's the top? What's the second? What's the third? The judiciary is at the third. Why? Because the president and the legislative can get the judicial out. They can remove the judges. But somehow the judges have somehow become a federal judge in Des Moines, Iowa, or Nevada, or down in Birmingham, Alabama, can supersede the executive? Are you really believing that this is the truth? That's like the CEO of Apple and a technician in some far away, tucked away office in America dictates and supersedes the CEO. What? The CEO just said, we're going to, no. The manager at the plant that does the screens on Apple said, no, we're going to do this. And everyone goes, okay. You see the absurdity of this? Sponsor of ours, Patriots Made, patriotsmade.com/JJ. Stop going and sending money to companies that despise you, that are poisoning you, box stores that hate you, that give their profit, the money, meaning your money given to them to buy their products, to go to Black Lives Matter, Planned Parenthood, give to politicians that you despise, all for the detriment of you. Stop. Go to patriotsmade.com/JJ. Patriotsmade.com. And as our friend Kim Yater says of the Kim Yater Take Your Power Back show, take your power back. One way we take our power back is stop giving and stop funding the other side. Just stop funding them and get products that are green, that are natural, and that are made in America by a company in America. I think that's a win-win. Go to patriotsmade.com/JJ. I have a short clip that I want to show you from an interview I did with Tyrone Mohammed, an ex-con, spent 21 years in prison for murder, has come out in the south side of Chicago where he committed the murder and is trying to rectify or try to give back to the community that he helped destroy. He's an intelligent man. He's now a business owner in Chicago, and he's running for Senate against Dick Durbin, little Dick Durbin. But he and I had an incredible conversation about black crime, prison system, black on white crime, black on black crime, the destruction of the household, the natural order of men in the black community disappeared. It's a riveting conversation that you can find in the vault at worldviewtube.com/JJ. Go to the vault. It's another way to help support worldviewtube.com. Watch this. It's just a minute and a half, but we had about an hour and a half conversation, and it was I love speaking and having robust discussions with people like Tyrone Muhammad.
Well, when we grew up, JJ, we used to have fighting matches or box when we had disagreements. Now you get a disagreement, you can just step on somebody's shoes and get shot. So it's no real cultural significance and of how you create manhood models and manhood training. And those things are no longer real in our communities because they have been systematically wiped away. No matter what you say about the Irish gangs, the Jews and their gangs, the Italians and their gang, most of them had culture, and they had language, and they had a family. So, but once you remove them, if you would have removed all the men and swept them all off the streets, then their sons and daughters would have strayed. But they had a relative culture. So that's what we're dealing with, man. We're dealing with the elected officials who are so caught up on being tough on crime, or in this case, hug a thug or hug deviants to a point where that deviance has no outlet to be correct.
You want to watch more of that? You just go to worldviewtube.com/JJ. That's the vault. I have probably 100 vault interviews. Well, I have probably a dozen interviews now, and then 100 takes, daily takes of current events. And this interview with Tyrone Muhammad, it's raw. It's like two alpha males from, you talk about opposite sides of the track, right? That the power structures, the immediate elites, want us to be on opposite sides of the tracks. However, when Tyrone Muhammad and I had an interview that went about 2 hours before when I interviewed him for my documentary, What is Treason? And instantly we knew, no, we're not enemies. We're absolutely aligned on about 90-something% of everything we're talking about. Look, there's things that he talks about in the black community or the way that it happened that I don't 100% agree on, but he and I would just have a disagreement. And I could at least say, okay, Tyrone, I at least can see and understand on an intellectual level how you came to that conclusion. I don't see it that way. I see the order being this way. And he can come back and go, I don't agree with that, but I can understand how you can come to that, right? That's having a discussion, a conversation of two men that should be absolutely ideologically opposed. A convict for murder, ex-con for murder, and a Border Patrol agent for 24 years, arresting men like him. And you think that we would hate each other. No, I don't hate him. I don't hate the people in jail. Do I think there's some people in jail that should never come out? Yes, absolutely I do. But we're talking about the prison system in our conversation. It doesn't matter if you want. I believe that there's reason why we have prisons, but even I could look at the prison system and say, well, it's not working. It's just not working. Something has to change. Do I want? Like people say, well, I don't want to pay for their education. Well, hold on a second. If I got a guy stuck in jail for 20 years, when he gets out, wouldn't you like him to have an electrical license or an HVAC license? Or he might have grown up and become a finished carpenter? Or do you want me to have a guy that's been stuck in prison for 20 years in a time warp, and I send him out into the real world, and then I expect him to be okay? Why? He's in prison for murder. He needs to do his time. But why wouldn't part of the process be to enable this man to become part of society once he served his time? Well, I would want that, because I don't want him to come back out and begin to kill again or do damage and violence to his community because he has no outlet. It makes no sense. It's illogical. Do I want them watching TV all day? No. Well, why do we have any streets that are dirty? Why? But why can't we pay them something so that they have money when they come out? Think about being out of jail in 10 years and you have no money, no way to get money, have not been given any training of any sort, and then expect. I don't care about the morality of it. I don't care about if you think they should be locked in a cage. That's immaterial to the discussion of when they come out into society. Are you have the expectation that they're going to be brought back into society and be a positive for society? There's no way, the way that the system is run now, that they come out as a positive. It just doesn't. So then we go back into the cycle again. That's not why we're doing it. And you talk to guys like Tyrone Mohammed, and we talk about men and their responsibility and masculine responsibility. And I saw this video the other day, just driving with my son. And this video popped up in the algorithm. And I'm listening to this lady, and I'm like, wow, that is powerful, what this woman is saying. And she's looking at it from the feminine point of view of what I talk about, because that's my point of view, is the masculine point of view on my show. But I'm very interested, and always have been, of what is the woman's idea of what her role is, her feminine role. And it has been so distorted, so manipulated, so corrupted that the women have no idea what their role is. They've been told that you don't need to be feminine, you need to be masculine, you need to be a female boss. What? You need to go out there and you need to get a job and you need to get a degree and you need to work your way up to middle management. And you don't need kids. You can have kids in your 30s. Oh, wait a minute. I've only been given so many eggs and they die. I'm not making eggs. I make them and I have them and that's all I have. And my eggs are dying. Don't worry about it. You don't need children. Well, wait a minute. Now I'm 50 years old. I have no children. Oh yeah, but you're the associate to the director of the associate vice president. What? That's not fulfilling to you? You're subservient to a man. That's your boss. And you have to ask for days off and you have to slave away and work for wages and you're just spinning the wheel and you have no happiness. But wait a minute. It's okay to go into middle management and be subservient to a man that's going to tell you when you can take vacation, but being subservient to a man in a marriage that takes care of everything and that you raise children and have a fruitful life, a powerful, wonderful life, that's wrong? That you shouldn't be subservient to someone that goes to work every day and is working his butt off for you because he loves you and wants to provide for you and will work horrible jobs and do horrible things to provide for you, but you won't fall into God's natural order for that, but you'll fall into this secular natural order for some guy that doesn't really care if you live or die. He just needs you to produce so he gets more money. It's absurd. We live in absurd times. But this woman gives an analogy of the purpose God created of women for men, and I thought it was brilliant, and I want to share it with you. Please show this one.
God has given men a capacity and a responsibility that women do not have, and we have to be honest about it. We can say he's not a man, he doesn't know how to lead, he doesn't whatever. There's still a capacity inside of him that God did not give us as women. And one of the biggest examples that I can give of that, imagine it's raining and you're in New York City. And if you've ever been to New York City or in France and it starts raining and people start selling umbrellas on the street, those $5, $10 umbrellas, they're not worth much, but they get the job done until you get home. Imagine you have that man. You have the man that gets the job done, isn't anything special, but he gets the job done. That man, no matter how little you view him, is made to handle the rain. You were not made to handle the rain, but you were made to hold up that which can handle the rain. If you didn't have that umbrella, you would come back home smelling like what poured on you. When a man comes back in as that umbrella, he gets dried quickly, water repellent, it falls off of him, and no matter how equipped you thought he still was built for the rain. The difference also, some of you want that Neiman Marcus umbrella. Some of you want the wood handle. Those things are heavy. And if God gave you a man like that, then you have to be the woman that can hold up that man. Because an umbrella that is not used, it can be for the rain, for the sun, it shields, it provides shade, it allows what's under it not to be touched. We are the vessel, not weaker. We are the vessel that was meant to let the one that God gave us be held up and used for what he was made. So now, as a wife, I want to say, I don't want to get wet. I don't want to sunburn. My skin's not built for that. So instead, I'm going to let the man be who he was meant to be. And if God gave me, which he did, my man's about as heavy as this table. That means God made me capable of holding him up. If my man is not doing what he was made to do, it's because I, as his wife, am not holding him up.
What a powerful, I've watched that 3 times. This would be my 4th time. And it's more powerful every time. Because she's absolutely 100% correct. 100% correct. And before you feminists start losing your mind, just answer me one question. Is your life, do you think that your life is better than your mother and your grandmother? Do you? Is it as fulfilling as your mom or your grandma? Look, I was at Easter yesterday at a friend's house, and this young woman had a baby, and the baby was there. That baby and that mother was in entertainment business and was very, very successful. There's nothing about her success that even comes close to being a mother. Not even close. Like it wouldn't even rank in the top 10 of her life. The top 10 things would be changing the baby's diaper, seeing my baby laugh, seeing my baby kick, seeing my baby's eyes lock in on me and know that I'm her mother. That's the top 10. Not women winning a Tony Award, not being on Broadway, not being on the Emmys, not winning an Emmy, not being on a top 10 show, nothing. We have, as a society, been fed lies, propaganda lies. And if you don't see that yet, I'm trying to help you. And if you don't want to see it, then that's on you. If you don't want to remove the scales from your eyes and see the truth as it is, that's fine. Go ask a bunch of 40-year-old women that have no children. Go ask them if they're content. In a very deep conversation, ask them if they're content. I have male friends that are older, no kids. Their life's not content. They know it. They feel it. They sense it. Something unnatural has happened. They're not in God's natural order. I'm not talking about men or women that can't have children. I'm not talking about that. I'm talking about people that made or kept pushing off, and now they don't have any children because they've been told the lie. That you need to get out there as a woman. You need to get out there and hustle. You got to get up in middle management. You got to do that. Why do you think that push happened? Do you think it could be for more workers, more taxes, to destroy the family? Do you think that is? I'm not bagging on women that are working because we need 2 incomes, because we've destroyed our economy and now we need 2 incomes where we used to just have 1 income and our quality of life was better 40, 50 years ago than it is today. That's just the truth. But what that woman was saying is God's natural order. Your husband is supposed to protect and provide, and you as the wife are supposed to hold him up. It's to be the strength that he needs when he comes home from a miserable week of work and is questioning his life and is questioning, why am I doing this? And then he comes home and he sees his wife and his children and he goes, well, that's why. That's why I'm doing it. My happiness. Look, you don't have to like Andrew Tate. I happen to like him a lot. And Andrew Tate says something that and I saved it and I play it whenever I get down or I wonder. And I don't agree with everything Andrew Tate says, but I do agree a lot on his masculinity. And one thing he says is, your job is not to be happy. You're not supposed to be happy as a man. You're not supposed to have happiness be the driving force in your life. And my God, he is correct. My job is not to be happy. That's not what's supposed to drive me. What's supposed to drive me is to take care of my wife and my son and provide. And that means going to work and doing things that you don't want to do. Because even the best work, the most fulfilling work, there are days that you're like, I can't do this anymore. I don't want to do this. Well, you have to. You have a mortgage coming due. Your son needs a car. He's going to start driving. They need food. Your son needs a haircut. He grew out of his new Jordans that you got him for his birthday in 4 weeks, had a growth spurt. Holy mother of God, I can't believe I got to go do this again. But you have to go do this again. Well, I'm not happy. Who cares if you're happy? And that's the kicker in this world. Who cares? Nobody cares. Nobody cares. So get up, go to work, and do what you have to do because you have a wife that's supportive and you have kids that are dependent. That's it. Do what you have to do. I love that. I'll keep watching that. I'll keep watching that woman explain through the analogy of umbrella 1,000 times because I know that each time I listen to it, I'll get another gem out of it. Be prepared for life. Sat123.com, sat123.com. That is sponsor for our show, and be prepared. Like that woman said, you need an umbrella when it rains. You need a man, and you got to prop him up, and you have to be with him because you're one. That's what God said. When you got married, you became one. No one wants to talk about that. Marriage is hard, but that's what God created. And if you're in line, if you are in God's natural order, it could be something beautiful. But you have to be prepared to fight for everything. Same thing with Sat 123. You have to be prepared. My son's going to be driving soon. He's going to have a sat phone in his glove box. Because if I need to get a hold of my son, he's out in no man's land, or he gets broken down, or he needs to call me, or whatever, he's going to be able to get a hold of me. And that's the organization, the companies that I partner with, sat123.com/JJ. They have 1 million products there. Hundreds of products. But this is the one I focus on. That and my son's ballistic backpack shield. That's what I do. My family's going to be taken care of. This is my priority. Sat123.com/JJ. Can't believe how fast this show went. Maybe the theme, or maybe the title of the show is just God's natural order. We're so misaligned spiritually, physically, emotionally. We're just not aligned. We all can feel it. The left, right, the middle, everyone in between can feel that we are not aligned spiritually in God's natural order. The left may call it whatever they want, but we're not aligned, and that's why you, America, me, America, that's why we feel so disjointed. It's because we have denied natural order. We have to fight to get back there.
I've got 4. Hello, everybody. Welcome to Code Blue today. I'm really excited because we have a very special guest. This is Cece Blakeman, who has been such a warrior princess for the victims of the hospital protocols. I call them the Hellspital Protokills because we had so many people that died unnecessarily during the COVID with this protocol that was pushed through by the CDC and was protected by the PrEP Act. And it was just absolutely insane. It just departed from everything that we always think about when we think about a physician's oath and taking care of their patient over everything else. It was completely upside down. And so when all this began happening all over the